Before we look at how to edit contact and newsletter forms, I want to make clear what the difference is between the two. So first we have a newsletter, and this is going to save people's email addresses within Squarespace, and you can connect it to other apps. For instance, if you use ConvertKit, you can connect so email addresses will automatically go to your ConvertKit. But this is where you build an email list of people who want to receive your newsletter updates. And so when someone submits this information, it gets stored in Squarespace, and you can get an email notification if you want. You don't necessarily have to. Versus a contact form, these individuals, when they provide their email, they're not getting added to your subscription list necessarily, but whatever information they fill out is going to be delivered to whichever email address you provide, because usually when someone's filling out a form, they're expecting some sort of response. So again, the difference here, newsletter is called newsletter, and then if you want a contact form or any type of form, that box is called form if you're looking to add a new one. So now let's jump in and look at how to edit both of these. They are similar in some aspects, so that will make it simpler. So let's start with the newsletter block. You'll see it populates with some basic information, and so you can always duplicate this, and then you can choose if you want it aligned vertically or centered. I usually center align it, but that's up to you. And so we're going to have the usual pencil icon. So first off, form name is not something your readers are going to see. This is just for you to keep track of different forms on your website. So you can call this whatever is going to help you keep track of which form this is. Then when they get down to the title, this is the information they're going to see. So you can update this information however you want with a title, update the description how you'd like. It automatically comes with a little disclaimer at the bottom, which you can adjust if you'd like. You can also get rid of it if you don't want to see that there. If you do get rid of it, sometimes it can cause your box to look a little uneven. So for example, this is where the disclaimer goes. Let's say you get rid of it and then there's kind of a gap there. Usually what I do in this instance is I'll bottom align it, because that's just going to even out the box a little bit so there's not a strange gap down here. So once you've filled out your content, including your button text, you can have a name field if you want their name as well. You can make one or both of the name fields required, or you can leave them both optional. And then after someone clicks sign up, you can decide what message they're going to see. Or if you don't want them to see a message and instead you want to redirect them, so perhaps after someone submits to subscribe to your email list, maybe you want to redirect them to maybe a bonus chapter that you have on a hidden page of your website, you can go ahead and attach a link to send them to a page. And so what that's going to do is after someone submits the form, they're automatically going to be sent to this page. When you have a form, you're going to want to set up storage. So for instance, automatically it's going to be saved in your Squarespace contacts. If you want to set up an email list in Squarespace, you can set that up in your contacts. You can also set up the Google verification if you want. That's going to be automatically on there. That helps prevent spam. I would recommend leaving it on just so you don't get spam basically bothering you. And then if we head over to design, this is going to be the aesthetics of your box. And so the biggest thing is whether you want these to quote unquote stack or float. So if I make this a little wider, we can see this better. So we have the stack option is going to keep every blank on top of each other. And then float is going to allow the blanks to basically move around based on how much space there is. So if I click float, if it's really narrow, they'll stack if there's more space, versus if it's really wide, then there's enough space for them to all go next to each other. So it's a little more dynamic and it allows it to adjust based on the amount of space that you have. Or if you don't like having some of these next to each other and others not, then you can leave stack and it'll always stack right on top of each other. You have alignment, and then background is how I got that little card effect. You can adjust the background color. You can also give the box a stroke if you would like, which you can adjust in color, thickness, etc. You can change the corners of your box, some of the corners, or you can change all of them if you want rounded corners. And then padding is going to be how much space there is on the edges of the box. So if you don't want it taking up a lot of space, it can be smaller, larger, and you can customize this as well. So if you want maybe a little more top-bottom space, but you don't want as much space on the sides, you can adjust that as you would like. They have different blend modes if you want to play around. They're all going to make it look different. This usually is not something I use because it can cause readability issues, but there are a bunch of different options here if you ever want to look through them. And then same with the blur. I don't use this as a lot due to, again, visibility issues, but if you ever want to play around, that is an option. And so this is, again, the newsletter block if someone's going to subscribe. The form block is going to have a lot of the same options, which is nice because once you know how to edit one of them, you know how to edit most of both of them. So again, this first one is going to be content, and this is going to be the words that they see. So you have the name, which is for yourself. No one else is going to see this name. And then you can change the button text. Now, the different thing here is that to edit these, you're actually going to click here, edit form fields, because there are a bunch of different options. So if I want to edit any of these, subject here, you can add a description underneath. If more information is needed, you can also add a placeholder. So if you want to do like an example to kind of, again, help people figure out how to fill things in. You can also choose which of these you want to be required. So that just toggles on and off. If a field is required, that means someone cannot submit the form without filling that field out. You can get rid of any of these. You can also add fields, and there's a bunch of different options. And so we have right here, we have name and email. It's pretty standard. But then you can add text fields with any sort of description here. So you can ask questions. We also have drop downs, can be helpful if you want them to select between two different options. And so you can play around with this. They have a lot of specific things. If you need a website URL, address, date, etc., you can get really specific if you want. Or if you want to keep things simple, you can just do text for everything and just put your question or prompt right here. Keep it nice and simple. One thing, if it is a longer question, instead of the text, you can do text area, and that's going to give you a bigger white box here. And once you've chosen all of your fields, again, you have the same post submit. You can have a message or you can redirect. The design options are going to be almost the same as the newsletter field. There's a couple differences, so you can align the button how you would like. You can change which button form you have. You still have the background, stroke options, etc. You can change more or less space. These are all going to be the same. And then storage is going to default to whatever email you've signed up in Squarespace for. You can change this email if you would like. Again, Newsletters is optional whether or not you want to get an email notification when someone subscribes, but with a form, every time someone fills out a form, you will get their exact answers sent directly to your email address. That way you have the information and can respond if that is necessary. Two last things that can be helpful is with forms, you do have the option to highlight the first field. And so for this one, the first field is the first name. It's the very first thing they'll fill in. And so if you want to give just a little bit of emphasis to the starting point of the form field, either to encourage people to fill it out or just to help guide them to where they need to start filling it out, you do have a couple options here. And additionally, you can do the lightbox setting. And so what that does, and let me adjust this a little bit. I'm going to put that in the middle. And so how this is going to look on a live website is instead of having the huge form on your website, you can hide it and have this little button here. And so the light box means when you click on the button, it's going to pop up like this. And so the nice thing about that, again, is if, for instance, your form perhaps is very long, it's taking up a lot of space, or maybe you just don't like how it looks, you do the light box, it's going to go ahead and hide it and give you a nice little button, which you can, of course, make larger if you want, etc. And then the button text here, you can make it say whatever you'd like, adjust the color, etc. if you want it to like pop out on the screen more. And so if you have, again, a really long form, this can be a nice option for that.